We welcome to the show, Kiki Dee. How's it going?
Fine, yeah, I'm suddenly very busy, Chris. Got a new album out officially in April, but it will be available from February at shows on our website. So it's all very exciting.
So what can you tell us about the new album?
Well, it's with my music partner. We go out acoustically as Kiki Dee and Carmela Leggeri. We've been working together for a long, long time. And the album is it's quite almost got an American feel to it. It's quite country, soul, blues. So with some quirks as well, some quirky East-West sounds. So yeah, we're really pleased with it and looking forward to it being out in the world.
Yeah, I really like the single that you sent me, A Long Ride Home.
Thank you. Yeah, we haven't really chosen a single track. You know, we've just really, because it's the title of the album and it starts the album, we thought it would be a good one to send to you. And thank you very much. I'm glad you like it.
So was this an obvious choice to go down this route, or how did it all come about?
Well, it's very much us. And we go out, as I said, together, just the two of us. I play a little bit of keyboards. Carmela plays amazing guitar. And we just write a lot of songs for our live gigs. And of course, during lockdown, we started to compile an album and get some material together. And it kind of evolved. We're very much in a space where we're very experimental. And we're very free, actually. We don't consider ourselves to be in the music business, you know, per se. We just do our thing and go out and play. So,
yeah, I mean, and that must be great because then you have the freedom to do whatever you want, I guess.
I think it's an age thing with me. You know, I started so early with my career at 16 when I got a record deal. And it's something that I'm really enjoying now in my latter years. You know, I'm really enjoying the music, and really at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to be talking about your career in this interview because you've had some great hits. I mean, a tune of yours I really like from the Northern Soul scene was On a Magic Carpet Ride. What were your memories of that time?
You're much too young to know that track.
I know I am. I know, but I like Northern Soul, so.
That's fantastic. Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, when I recorded those tracks in the late 60s for Fontana Records, I didn't really realize anybody heard them because they weren't hits and they weren't played on the radio very much. And then a few years later, in the early 70s, I started to get feedback that I had a couple of songs that were doing well on the Northern Soul scene, which was fantastic, you know. Yeah. By which time I'd signed to Rocket Records with Elton John. So I was kind of progressing and growing up a little bit. But I'm very proud of that early work. And it's nice to know that people are still listening to it.
Yeah. And so what was it like in the studio at the time? I mean, I imagine things have totally changed since then, haven't they?
Oh, Lordy, yeah, it's so different now. I mean, I was just awestruck by getting a deal so young. And I did my recordings near Marble Arch in London. So I'm from Bradford, Yorkshire, and I used to travel down on the train and stay over and do my recordings, and met lots of rock stars of the day, you know, rock bands like Tennessee. Eric Stewart was in a band, and he went on to be in Tennessee, and lots of people I met, and Ray Davis, you know. So it was all very exciting times.
Yeah, definitely. And in 1970, you became the first British artist to be signed by Tamla Motown. That must have been an honour.
Again, you know, that came out of the blue. My manager at the time was managing Dusty Springfield, so I got to sing along on some of her records. But he got a fluke phone call from Detroit saying that somebody had heard my voice, and would I go over for 3 months and do some recording? Of course, I thought someone was winding me up. I didn't believe it. You know, in '69, it would have been an unusual thing. It was an unusual thing for them to, you know, for them to sign me up. I'm gonna have some water, excuse me.
That's all right.
So yeah, I was very excited, and I thought this is it now, I'm going to be a huge star, like. But of course, I didn't become a huge star at that time, but it was such an experience to work with Frank Wilson, the producer, and get to sing in that original Motown studio, which is now the Motown Museum.
Yeah, and you mentioned Elton John, of course. I have to talk about "Don't Go Breaking My Heart." Where do we start with that? I mean, that song gets played on the radio all the time, doesn't it? Fantastic song.
Who would have thought? Yeah, I think it's a really good pop record. And I'm glad that I had a couple of hits before that track. I had Amoureuse and I've Got Music in Me in the early 70s. So when that came along, I'd already established myself a little bit. So that was good. But, I enjoyed the ride and I enjoyed everything about working with Elton. He's fantastic to work with. He produced my first album in '73 on Rocket Records. And that's the album that Amoureuse was on.
And with Amoureuse, I mean, originally it was a French song, wasn't it? And it was made into English, but a fantastic song, isn't it?
It's a lovely song. And I love doing it live with Carmelo. We just do voice and guitar. And an English lyric is Wonderful by Gary Osborne, who became a lifelong friend of mine after that. And beautiful. I mean, if you're going to get your first hit record, it's good to have a song that's quality and timeless, like Amoureuse is.
Yeah. And am I right in saying you also did the backings of Yellow Brick Road as well?
Well, because I was on Rocket Records, I used to just tip up and they'd say, come on, do some vocals, Kiki. So I can't remember which tracks of Elton's I sang on, to be honest. But quite a few at that time, because we were working together. I did a couple of tours of America with him as well, which helped. In '74, it helped I've Got Music in Me to chart over there because we were playing such big venues, and I got the exposure.
Yeah, and of course with Amoureuse, that was in 1973. That was your first top 20 UK hits. What are your memories of that time?
Well, it was just so exciting because I've been recording for 10 years. And being young and being around that time, the hit record was everything. I mean, I wouldn't have the same attitude now. The music business is so different. But I was just desperate to get a hit and join Lulu and Dusty and Scylla and all the girls, And finally I got one.
Yeah, brilliant. And you say the music industry has changed a lot. Do you think for the better or not? Or a bit of both?
Well, Joni Mitchell said, something's lost and something's gained by living every day. And I think that's the case with the music business. There's still great talent out there. And it's just a different world now, isn't it? In every respect, really. I just find a lot of the modern music a little bit too technically perfect sometimes. It doesn't have that real soul that the 50s and 60s music had, that I was a child when I was listening to it. And but having said that, as I say, there's some great people out there and there's some great music out there still. It's just the format of how it gets out in the world is completely different now.
Oh yeah, I mean, like recording contracts you'd have back in the day, wouldn't you? But now it's mostly through iTunes or the internet, and totally different.
It's always difficult to get through and to be successful. But the advantage that I had way back was not a lot of people, generally speaking, were doing music, because you couldn't do music unless you had a record deal. If that makes sense, you couldn't record music. And now it's possible for so many more people, to make their music, which is a lovely thing in a way. They get to be artistic and they get to express themselves. But it's harder to get through. It's harder to get through the crowd and make it commercial.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people, isn't there? I mean, yeah.
So many. I mean, I don't know much about the modern scene, really, because I do delve into certain things and I listen to the radio. But keeping up with it all I suppose I haven't got the same interest in that anymore. I just more or less concentrate on what I'm doing and put my head down, you know.
Yeah. So who are some of the singers you admire and you listen to yourself?
Today?
Yeah, or from the past?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I loved, you know, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and Dusty, of course. I really like Robert Plant's music these days. We actually, Camilla and I did a couple of shows with him. In fact, the first one we did with him, he'd started a new band 2 or 3 years ago called Saving Grace. And he said, he got hold of me through a mutual friend. And he said, Kiki, we haven't got enough material. Can we support you? And I said, are you joking? You know, because I have so much respect for him because he's always moving on.
No.
And
Yeah.
he's always coming up with something new. And for him to say that, I was just absolutely blown away. I think he's amazing. So I enjoy his music. There's an album he did called Raising Sand around 2008, which got an Emmy in America, and with a singer called Alison Krauss. Sorry, I've had a long day. My head's a bit vague. And but yeah, I love him. There's great voices out there today as well. You know, there's so many. James Morrison, you know. Like I say, I think there's the same amount of talent out there, I really do. But the way it's recorded is also different.
Oh, yeah. I mean, back in the day, how many takes would you have to make the song? You'd only have a few takes, wouldn't you? You wouldn't.
Well, when I think of stuff, particularly from the 40s, because I love Ella Fitzgerald, and, you know, there was no auto-tuning. They must have gone in the studio and with an orchestra, if you can imagine it, done a few takes and spent an hour or so doing the vocals. And then if they were edited, they were cut up on sort of thick tape. It's quite hard to imagine, but they were all such great singers and musicians that they could do it.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It would be more of a live performance, wouldn't it? Because they'd have to do it like that.
That's right. And it has a kind of life to it, doesn't it? Because it is, I guess it has more spontaneity. We had to do our new album. We had to send tracks out, you know, say the drummer was in South America and the guitarist was somewhere else. So we tried very hard to make it sound like we were all in the studio together because, of course, with lockdown, we couldn't all get together and make an album. So I think we've managed to do it. And yeah, but you wouldn't have been able to do that, obviously, in those days. But
yeah, well, I look forward to hearing more. So what was lockdown like for you? Was it all right? I mean, considering?
Not too bad for me. You know, being older and more established in my world, if you like, I think it was very tough on young people. And obviously a lot of people had issues with their health and with, you know, with their families and getting operations, you know, people who were sick. And it's been a very tough time for all of us, but some more than others. So I'm counting my blessings, Chris, that I was able to come through it fairly unscathed.
Yeah, and I suppose you had your music, which is always, I mean, you've always had your music. It must be a big part of
it.
it.
We were able to go in our studio and spend some time, you know, making this album, writing the songs to start with, the two of us, and then, you know, putting them down. And so I had something to focus on and something to do.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to your performance at the Wharf. So you're going to be at the Wharf on the 5th of February. How much are you looking forward to it and what can we expect?
I'm very much looking forward to it because we haven't gigged for a while. We did a couple of charity shows 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I'm looking forward to getting out there again and playing some of the songs from the new album. And we'll have new albums to sell as well. Can't wait.
Great.
It's a lovely, intimate atmosphere that we create. You know, we do the old hits, you know, some of the old Kiki hits, like Amoureuse, Music in Me, etc. And, you know, it's a real blend of covers of songs we've written and of the old Kiki hits. So, yeah, I'll be out there enjoying myself.
Great. And so with the new album, is it strictly a country album or is it a mixture? Or
I wouldn't say it's a country album, but it's got that American flavour about it. And there's quite a lot of strings on it. And there's a song called The Ballerina Inside, which is sort of like a modern Amoureuse. It's a ballad. So there's a real mix. There isn't a touch of Europe in it as well. It's not just a country album. But I think it's quite an original sounding record, hopefully. And I think it's got a certain honesty about it. So we'll see how people react. You know, the first thing is that we love it. And I think if you're starting from there, there's got to be a few people out there who love it as well. So that's the premise I'm working on.
And is it a collaborative effort when you work on the songs? And
oh, totally, yeah. I mean, my memory's not great. Carmela remembers everything. He remembers, you know, how a song was started, you know, whether if it was a lyric or if it was a melody. I tend to kind of, it all, once it's written, I tend to forget how it came about almost. But it's totally the two of us working together.
Well, it's been lovely to speak to you, Kiki, and I look forward to your gig at the Hall on the 5th of February.
Well, please say hello when you come, if you make it. You're going to come?
Yeah, I'll come along.
Great.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Great.
Thanks a lot, Kiki. Thanks for joining us, and I'll